All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get right into this one because you can't have any fun as a Yankees fan. One day, the Yankees are dominating. The next day, they're not. And you have to live with the wins and the losses if you want to be a hopeful Yankees fan. And of course, that's contingent on the Yankees actually winning most of their games. But there's another part of it, the hope in all of this. If you're strictly watching games, you've got a slight amount of hope going forward for this organization. But then you hear stuff like this. And of course, you could see it in the title as to what I'm going to be covering today, which is Brian Cashman finally spoke to the media. And he happened to speak about the whole Alex Verdugo, Jason Dominguez dilemma and why they decided to call up Duke Ellis instead of Jason Dominguez. And why they continue to play Alex Verdugo even though he is trash. He is terrible. But the Yankees refused to take him out of the lineup. And Brian Cashman spoke today. And he said the quiet part out loud. This is exactly what he said. This is at least what I took away from what he said. We are not serious about winning games. We are an absolute joke. We think we're smarter than you. And we always will. But we refuse to make the smartest decision because of this complex that we have. The idea that we are smarter than you. The idea that you have no idea what you're talking about. The idea that we have stats that you can't see, but we do. He said Alex Verdugo gives the Yankees a better chance of winning than Jason Dominguez. And as the Yankees tend to do, time will go on. And that point, that argument will be harder and harder to make. And the Yankees will eventually give in, bring up Dominguez. And at that point, it's going to be too little too late. With less than a month left in the regular season, you need Jason Dominguez to get as many reps as he possibly can. Especially considering how terrible Alex Verdugo has been. With a 652 OPS and 83 OPS plus this year. And do you want to know how bad he's been in the month, how bad he was in the month of August? Not that like he's gotten any better in September. 549 OPS in August. How can you justify it? It really makes no sense to me. I repeat myself so much about this organization, but it's completely deserved. I'm sick and tired of hearing the upper management from the organization tell us exactly what we know we're going to hear, but that we just refuse to hear it. And it's always along the same lines of, again, we are smarter than you, and we will continue to make the most difficult decision possible because we refuse to give in to pressure. And we are petty. We are a petty organization who cares more about optics than winning World Series. How Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman specifically, continues to have a job when he says stuff like this makes zero sense to me. What is Brian Cashman's calling card? He's got 5 World Series rings. Did he build the team in the 90s? No, he did not. Stick Michael did. Did he put together the majority of the team in 2009 that won the World Series? Kind of. But he was given the ultimatum by George Steinbrenner to go out and sign anyone and everyone, which they did, signing 3 of the top free agents in that free agent class. That's the reason why they won the World Series. Not because of the core that Stick Michael drafted and built in the mid-90s. So what is Brian Cashman's calling card? Oh, I kept the team's record over 500 every year I've been GM. Boo-hoo. That's not good enough for me. That's not going to cut it for me, and it shouldn't cut it for any Yankees fan out there. It's not good enough. I'm no Major League Baseball general manager. I don't say that I could be. But I do think that given the highest payroll from year to year, I could replicate some of the success that Brian Cashman has had. When was the last time you could look at a trade that Brian Cashman made and say that was the reason why the Yankees did blank? And in the last 7-8 years, the case has been whether or not they've won playoff series, not if they've advanced the World Series, because newsflash, you missed it, they haven't. So we're accepting these marginal wins from time to time from Brian Cashman. And I know a lot of people out there are fairly critical of him and fairly call out all of the mishaps, all of the complete botches that he's made. The trade for Josh Donaldson, the trade for Alex Verdugo, the trade for Frankie Montas, the trade for Joey Gallo. Just time and time again, this guy has screwed up. How many fireable offenses? How many fireable offenses? I can count at least 10 right now. And I'm not going to. I don't want to do this. But the title of my video tells you that I'm going to be talking about why I think the Yankees are screwed forever and why these comments signal that. I have friends out there who I like to call optimists. I think they're optimists. I think they're not realists. They don't look at realistic situations and objectively draw truths from that and opinions from that. They buy into the false hope. They buy into the 6 to 7 game stretches of brilliance from the Yankees. But they don't look at the organization objectively. They don't look at all of the previous mistakes that Brian Cashman has made. They don't look at the stupid, idiotic comments that signal we do not care about winning. We are smarter than you, and you should shut your mouth. That is the disrespect that we're getting right now from the Yankees and for Brian Cashman. He's telling us all to F off, to get off his back. He knows what he's doing. And how can you trust him that he does? Where has the success been? Where have the smart moves been? Where has the consistent winning been? Jason Dominguez, without a doubt. I mean, the man is raking in AAA right now. He's leaving you with no excuse but to call him up. But the Yankees are still finding excuses because of their unconscious, idiotic backing of Alex Verdugo, who is objectively garbage. 550 OPS in the month of August. Not much better in the games that he's played in September. He had a really good start to the year. Then that Red Sox series happened, and he's fallen off the face of the earth. That is the guy you're sticking with because you don't want to bring up Jason Dominguez and not have him play every day. That is a valid excuse if Alex Verdugo wasn't an absolute corpse. At the plate, in the field, on the base paths, it is getting harder and harder to defend these decisions. And I honestly have to commend Brian Cashman for going out there, speaking to the media, and somehow standing by this, knowing the absolute backlash that he's going to face. It's almost commendable. It almost is, if he wasn't entirely wrong on the situation. And if he wasn't making an absolute fool of himself by saying that. This organization is not winning anything anytime soon. They will not. They can have the most unbelievable postseason run, and they will falter because they are not built correctly. They're not. They are a flawed organization from top to bottom. And that's how it starts. It's not bottom to top. It's not your scouts. It's not your assistant GMs. It's not your analytics department. It's your general manager. He sets the tone for the rest of the organization, and everyone else follows. We know that Aaron Boone is a corporate yes man. We know he does what he is told. We significantly doubt whether or not he actually picks the lineups himself. I don't think he does. I don't know many people who think that Aaron Boone is the one who is carefully selecting where each guy goes in the batting order. That's not the case. It's the analytics department. And who put together the analytics department? Brian Cashman. And this guy, for whatever reason, still has a job. I just can't. I can't do this anymore. I'm like losing it. I really think I am when it comes to this team. And the Giants are back. Awesome. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. I did a whole NFL season preview and predictions episode on my YouTube channel. Go check that out. I think the link to my YouTube is in my bio, so go click on that. And also, I posted a clip from that, so check that out as well. I want to be excited about something. The Yankees should be that team with the two-headed monster, even though Aaron Judge has fallen off the face of the earth since his Paw Patrol episode. He's been terrible. Maybe this is the best thing to happen to the Yankees, considering the fact that Aaron Judge is usually getting really cold in the postseason. Maybe it's great that it's happening now and not then. Remains to be seen. Who knows? We don't know. That's the problem with this team. There's so much uncertainty with the roster, with the closer situation now, with Clay Holmes completely losing the ability to throw his sinker, but continuing to throw it as much as he does. And yet the Yankees are still sticking with him as closer, even though Aaron Boone kind of distanced himself from completely backing Clay Holmes. There's a lot wrong with this organization. And these comments by Brian Cashman yet again underline why they are not going to contend anytime soon with him at the helm. It's such a shame. It really is. Because Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman are like attached to the hip. Brian Cashman has to have something on Hal Steinbrenner. A sex tape or something. I don't know what it is. We should figure it out and just release it anyway. So Cashman can't continue to blackmail Hal Steinbrenner and letting him keep his job because he doesn't deserve it. I don't want to hear the anonymous claims, the anonymous takes from opposing GMs who say that Brian Cashman is this baseball mastermind. That what he has done with the Yankees it should be commended, should be celebrated, and that if he was dropped, if he was fired by the Yankees, he'd be picked up immediately. I don't want to hear it. It's not true. It's not. Why would you hire this guy in your right mind as your GM? Yeah, maybe they hire him as a consultant, maybe as an assistant GM, and I know he's the president of baseball operations. Maybe he'd be hired as a GM. I don't know. I'm sick and tired of talking about this team. Nothing is going to change. There's a part of me that hopes the Yankees completely lose out. They lose the rest of their games this season. It's the only way I think change would actually happen. I thought change would happen last year with the Yankees missing out on the postseason. And they had absolutely no right to. There was an audit. Great. What ended up happening? What came out of that audit? Nothing. Nothing changed. The organizational philosophy is still the same as it was last year. You just so happen to trade for Juan Soto. When you make a trade like that, when you go all in, you should be all in. You should bring up your best players. You shouldn't trust guys who are way past their primes. Guys that clearly don't have it. Guys that struggle to play in New York. The guys that are having career worst years. Of course, I'm talking about Alex Verdugo. Before he was traded to the Yankees in a full season, never had an OPS under 700. He's at 650, and it's dropping day by day. He's not running out ground balls. He's not this force to be reckoned with. At the plate, he's not a great fielder. What does he bring you? Playing mostly every day. What does he bring you? I'm waiting. I really don't know. The Yankees have these internal stats, apparently, where they see stuff that we're not. That's their justification. Our internal stats say Alex Verdugo still should be playing 3 out of 4 days. Our internal stats say that Jason Dominguez hitting 3 home runs in 5 games and hitting 2 in his last 2 games is not good enough to be called up. I would love to know what they're seeing that we're not. And I would love to know how Brian Cashman still has a job. If you have any hope for this organization, you need to take a long look in the mirror and reevaluate. Seriously reevaluate your trust in this team. Because for me, it's been eroded for years. Probably since 2020. I just have no hopes for this team. I have no hope. I can't even do this anymore. I'm gonna end the stream. I've done enough on this. Next week, more football content, probably some betting stuff as well. Knicks, Julius Randle stuff still being talked about. Nothing more on the contract negotiations. Still terrible mock drafts, mock trades being put out there by Bleacher Report, other outlets for Julius Randle that make me want to blow my head off. I miss talking about the Knicks. I miss talking about a competent organization, an organization that I trust, with a president of operations that actually knows what they're doing. And I am very excited to get into the Knicks talk. And you best be sure that I will be bringing you Knicks all week, mostly every day. It's going to be a very exciting time for if you're a Knicks fan. But that'll do it for today's live stream. Yankees are screwed. Brian Cashman, how do you still have a job? I could not, I still can't understand it. I have been able to understand it the last 3 or 4 years. There's no path forward. There isn't. And I'll come back to this if the Yankees miraculously pull off a postseason run and win the World Series. I'll come back to this. Admit I was wrong, but that won't happen. That won't happen. It's not going to. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll talk to you all next week. Enjoy your weekends.